and his family. Now we're going to take and do prayer and pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we want to thank you at the end of this day for the beauty of your world that you created, and Father, for life, health, and happiness. And Father, at this special time, we would like to lift up Dr. Brewer to you. We pray, Father, that as the God of all comfort and the great physician, that you touch him as only you can. Father, I thank you for all those that are assembled here tonight. I thank you, Father, for the leadership of this city. I pray, Father, tonight that in all things in life that we would ask that in every decision we make is the right decision to make. Father, we are stewards for the future and stewards of the future. And you've entrusted to us leadership and responsibility to lead the next generation on. I pray, Father, that all that we say and do to be honored and glorify you. And Father, that tonight you give those in leadership positions clarity of thought, wisdom, and peace in their hearts. And Father, we pray that your peace will reign throughout this assembly. And Father, we pray for reconciliation in our city, in our county, and our country. That you touch us and bring us together as one people, as only you can. This we pray in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Okay, now we'll have opening remarks from speakers, of course.
Thank you, Mayor Cordell, for that prayer. And I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I want you to keep in mind that this is a very important meeting. It's a very emotional meeting. And I have had many calls and many prayers of support. And I hope that as we do our business this evening, we proceed with open minds and open hearts. As many of you know, I am the interim in Dr. Brewer's absence, and I come to this position with experience in diverse positions within the school system. According to the news media, this meeting is to discuss cuts in the school system's budget and a possible merger with the county schools. First, I would inform you, Mayor Norman and Alderman, that we did as you requested in our last meeting together. The school board Monday night voted to drop the sales tax litigation against the county per your request. In turn, the liquor by the drink litigation against the city of Manchester has been dismissed. The attorneys are working together now to draw this issue to a close, and the city of Manchester profits by this decision. Now I'd like to address the school budget. Long before we ever heard that dirty six-letter word, merger, the Manchester School Board had asked Dr. Brewer to submit a proposal that would cut $1.2 million out of next year's school budget, thereby balancing the budget and not continuing to dip into the fund balance. In case you're not aware, the deficits in the fund balance for the school that have been alluded to were primarily created during a previous administration when, as Mrs. Gregory has stated, since 2007, an increase in the school budget was not requested from the city. But money was taken from our fund balance to pay salary and reoccurring step increases. I just wonder how many other departments have come before the mayor and alderman since 2007 and not gotten increases. Has the rec department, the fire department, the police department. Putting that aside, we have worked with the school board to arrive at the $1.2 million in cuts. Cuts by eliminating some positions, by cutting personnel's days or hours, and by shifting the salaries of some general purpose positions into federal programs. We've also replaced some programs with less expensive ones. Some of the line items affected by these cuts are 21100-116, 71200-116, 71100-163, and 71100-399. We made these cuts, and our employees are still able to give back to the tax base of our city and county as consumers. I know the question has been asked, how can you cut $1.2 million out of a school budget and still maintain a high-quality instructional program? I am here to tell you that we can do this with the cuts beginning in administration, as has been requested by our Board of Mayor and Alderman. But we don't want to be held hostage. The Manchester City School System has more autonomy by city charter and statute, Tennessee Code Annotated 49-2-203, than any department in the city. Our school board has the authority to manage and to control all public schools and property within its jurisdiction. We are making these cuts because we need to, not because we are being forced to. We want to work with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and we don't want you working against us because of it for any personal reasons. I don't have to be here fighting for our schools. You see, I have many years of experience, and I can walk away anytime. And this week, I've thought about that many times. You see, I have 4 decades of blood, sweat, and tears invested in Manchester City Schools. I love this system, and I believe in it. And I am here tonight fighting for all the young teachers whom I see in the audience, whose lives can be turned upside down if jobs are lost or transfers are made. I am here fighting for the students who are crying themselves to sleep at night because they love their schools and their teachers and they don't want change. I am here fighting for the parents who have spoken so well in favor of our schools and have researched the statistics and know what a quality education program Manchester City Schools offer. I am here for the silent ones who are afraid to speak because they have to work and fear for their jobs because of the position they want to take. I am here for the Hispanic community whose voices may be silent because of a language barrier. 10% of our enrollment comes from Hispanic families who are welcomed and feel honored to be in our schools. I am here fighting for a school board that was elected by you, John Q. Public, to do the school's business. I urge the board and mayor of Alderman to drop this idea of a school merger and let us get about the business of teaching our children and you getting about the business of running the city. we have wasted on both sides of this issue. It's time for it to stop. Mayor and Board of Aldermen, most of you are parents or grandparents of children who will be affected. And I can't believe that some of you are thinking about giving our schools away. Tim, you're a product of Manchester City Schools. I know because I think I was your 9th grade English teacher many years ago. And Lana, you're a product of Manchester City Schools. Your mother was my secretary, and your father has 40+ years in Manchester. You have a child at Westwood Middle School. And your family's livelihood, for the most part, has come from Manchester City Schools. Manchester City Schools is your best kept secret. We are the attraction that brings numerous families into Manchester each year. They are looking for a school system that goes above and beyond the norm. 10% of our students have parents who pay tuition for them to attend Manchester City Schools. Let's let Keith Holt tell you why his child attends Manchester City Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Morris. I want to start off just real quick. Man, my phone's rang off the hook, as you can imagine. My speech last Thursday night, not anything against Coffee County schools, or the teachers. I did cite data, and data is exactly why my kids go to school where they go to school today. It's the same data that my dad collected 50 years ago as he made the decision to send me to Manchester City Schools instead of the school I was zoned for. He didn't have the internet. He drove up and down the road and he talked to all the farmers and folks out in the community. He talked to the residents of the city of Manchester, and he decided then, based on collecting that data, that he was making the best choice for me. Now, I'm a product of Manchester City Schools and Coffee County Schools. Grades 1 through 6, Manchester City Schools. Grades 7 through 12, Coffee County Schools. I'm referred to as the first graduate of what we call the new high school in 1977. My last name starts with H, so you can figure out what that means. I love Coffee County Schools, and so for those of you that have called me, and I don't know if any of you are in the audience today, I'm not attacking Coffee County Schools, but I am going to have to use data at some point or another in this conversation. And so I just urge everyone to go out and look at the data, the same data that I used to make the decision to send my then 5-year-old daughter to Westwood and my next year 5-year-old daughter to Westwood. You add all that up and you can figure out that I'm the oldest parent in the schools. I don't know any different. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I did it by data. I looked at the choices that I had. And it wasn't just the hard data that I've pointed you to go look at. And for anyone that stood up here and said the scores are the same, please go out and look at the data. For those of you that listened to the county attorney talk about the Ames report, which sounded like that it was telling us we should consolidate. I've got a copy of that up here. Anyone that's not read that and is citing the Ames report, please take a look at this. Please come take a copy of this. It doesn't recommend consolidation. Excuse me. My kids go where they go because of the data, but also, most of you know, my daughters are not from this country. And we were looking for diversity. And we have that at Westwood Elementary more than we would have anywhere else we go. That comes with a price tag. That comes with a big price tag to this city. And if that's transferred over to the county, it's a big price tag to the county to pick up. So to talk about that you can do it for the same price that you're doing today, you can't. You can't do it. Taxes are going, today as we talked about at work, Your taxes are going to change. I don't know which way they're going to change, but I just don't believe that you can pick this up in the county and not have an impact. So, pardon my rambling tonight. I didn't come up here with a plan to talk tonight. My children go to Westwood. My child next year will go to Westwood. My oldest daughter goes to Westwood Middle School next year, and is scared to death that she's not going to get to play on the basketball team at Westwood next year. So I want this to end. I want this to end. I don't want to have to buy property in the city for my kid to be able to go to Westwood. It's diversity. It's a loving commitment that I think exists in some of the county schools. I saw it Saturday at the ball game. Go Lady Eagles. I saw it at the ball game Saturday with one of the elementary schools. They obviously have that community that this group has. But it's a community, when you get out into the county, with those schools spread out like they are, they don't have that parental commitment. I don't believe that they have the programs that we have that cause our kids to be ranked up at the high level they are. With Westwood Elementary School being one of the top 3 schools in the state, they don't provide the service that makes their kids perform at the level ours perform. Some of their schools do, but not all of them. And that's a problem the county's got to work out. And I'm not picking on the county, and Dr. McFall, you've got your work cut out for you in that area, and I'll be one of your students here one day, so I'm not trying to pick a fight with you guys. But I want everyone to please go compare the data and make the same decision that I made. Understand why I made that decision for my family. One other message to the local media. Polls are in the paper and on the radio are good for what's your favorite cookie and what band you want to play at Bonnaroo. But when you put one out there, you found out today how easy it is to jimmy that. My 10-year-old daughter could have done what happened to that poll today. And so to go and publish things like county, city residents support that. You're looking at poll data that's not scientific. And so today you say, well, okay, it's not a scientific poll. Most people don't understand what that means. I do. But most people don't understand what it means. So don't publish that data. I would say that any poll that matters in the future within our media is going to be blown up like it was blown up today. Please stick to cookies and Bonnaroo and not to issues that matter this much to our kids. That's all I got tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you for sending your children to Manchester City Schools. And thank you for being an avid supporter of our schools. Last week when we were planning for this meeting, the school board asked that teachers speak. Our first speaker tonight is Ms. Deb Wimberly. She's a parent and she's a teacher from Westwood Middle School. Make her welcome.
Thank you. That was very nice. Like Ms. Moore said, I'm Deb Wimberly. I wish I could look at you. I'm going to stand over here where I can face most of you. I teach 7th grade science at Westwood Middle. Let me tell you a little bit about my background because I think it's relevant to what I want to talk to you about. I moved here to Manchester in 1989, and after graduating from MTSU, I served as the director of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce. While working there, I learned that one of my roles was to promote the city of Manchester and the area. I learned that I had to promote that to companies that wanted to move here and industries that wanted to start operations here and the families that come along with those businesses. One of the things that I used to market the city was the school system, the Manchester City school system. I did not have a child in the system at the time. She was just 3. But I had worked with the We Care Committee, and I used what was going on in the city. I found out, asked them, what are you doing, so I could promote it to people that called and asked about it. So this is what I believe to be true about the Manchester City school system and the city of Manchester. I do not believe that it's a matter of can you afford us, able to afford the system? I believe it is to be a matter of not being able to afford to lose it. And here we go. That made me feel really good. Quality of schools is always toward the top of the list as to why companies relocate, industries build, and families move and stay. The City of Manchester can and should exploit the operation of the Manchester City Schools. It could and should be used as part of a marketing campaign to sell our city, to recruit industry and families and businesses to move here. We have a lot to offer. And if I still worked at the Chamber of Commerce, the following are the things that I would want to know. All three schools are marketable. However, I teach at Westwood Middle, so I just want to give you a glimpse into what the kids are doing there. The related arts. Westwood Middle offers speech and theater, art, band, chorus, life skills, and of course gym. Our speech and theater program is unique to middle schools. The goals of this program are to increase communication and, increase confidence and improve communication techniques with a myriad of presentation types and situations, and to provide students with opportunities to practice those skills. 40% of our 8th graders participate in band and chorus. It's about 60 kids. And they get to show off that talent in 5 or more concerts and performances a year. In addition to that, they participate in the Veterans Program with the city and in parades. And Mrs. Lewis and Mr. Spangler prepare our kids for auditions in the community theater and band. Our art program has secured a $7,000 grant from Bonnaroo, had heavy participation in our local fair, has participated in the Google Art Challenge, and has a kid donated to have a clay curriculum. It's pretty special. Westwood Middle has numerous sports, of course: boys and girls soccer, basketball, tennis, cross country, as well as football, golf, cheerleading, baseball, and softball. For many years, Westwood Middle School has sent a large delegation to the State Beta Club Convention. This year was no exception. We had winners in several categories, and we are proud to have a 7th grader serving as the State Beta Club president. For the past 2 years, 6th through 8th graders have participated in an after-school program called First Lego League. This isn't about building Legos. This is a robotics program that it teaches kids teamwork, engineering, robotics, that builds knowledge and skills that they need for their futures. A volunteer comes from Arnold Air Force Base to mentor and teach these kids. The middle school team went to the state competition in Cookeville last year and won the right to do so again this year. Also for 2 years, 7th and 8th graders have participated in an aviation program. This program includes a 10-week flight simulation software, and also they are mentored and taught by a pilot from the Air Force Base. As a reward, these kids were allowed to go to Eagleville, Tennessee and fly in a sailplane with a pilot for free. Wow. For the past 3 years, Westwood Middle School has had a 7th grade science club. Membership in this club ranges from 30 to 50 kids each year. These kids stay after school, they have planted a community garden, they have met professionals and experts in numerous things. They have rebuilt computers, they've built an aquaponics system inside the classroom, and they've done numerous other science experiments in a safe environment. Westwood Middle School offers tutoring and credit recovery for kids that need that 4 days a week after school. Last year, our 6th graders participated in the Verizon Innovative App Challenge. One of the groups won Best in the State for Tennessee for their Calorie Catcher app. They also won access to various online classes to help them dig deeper. They won an online teleconference with experts in technology and app building, and they won certificates and new headphones. This year, 4th through 6th graders will participate in the 23rd Annual MTSU Invention Convention. Entries will be judged, and they will find out February 12th who will be invited to MTSU. Westwood Middle School has received a $2,000 grant to build a school garden in the courtyard area by our cafeteria. Each student in the building will have an opportunity to help with this garden. Last year, Westwood Middle School held the very first family STEM night. There were presenters there from MTSU, Vanderbilt, Montlow, NASA, Apple, the Hands-On Science Center, Coffee County Soil Conservation, and others. And we had volunteers there from the Manchester City Police Department and the Manchester City Fire Department. A total of 500, some say more, I'm going to say 500, a total of 500 kids and their families attended that event. Wow. Some of the things that Westwood Middle School is looking for adding next year: more invention competitions to the higher grades, holding a STEM carnival to allow kids to showcase a science project, a Rube Goldberg machine, or pretty much anything their creative minds can think of. Another thing that we're looking into is finding funding for a solar tree, which is a structure that resembles a tree, but the leaves are solar panels that can power electric and USB outlets. I just have to say wow one more time. I want to apologize for leaving out programs and activities. I knew I would. I can't list them all. I believe there's opportunity here from my background. An opportunity to use the Manchester City school system as a marketing tool to show others what a wonderful city that we have to live in. I really hope you agree.
But it is the tax dollars that fund this system, ultimately. You can pay tuition, but as you saw, you see on the state report card, it costs $13,000 in 12th grade last year to provide an education for a child. So if you pay, I don't even know how much tuition is now, but if you're paying $400 a child, there's still a lot of money left that has to come from state dollars and local dollars to provide that education. And nobody on this board, this is not a trick with you all. We know that Westwood and College Street and Westwood Middle School are great schools. We're just what we are trying to say to you is that this situation reaches farther than you realize. We have Ms. Morris, you asked if the police department or the fire department or the rec department budgets have been cut. Absolutely, they've been cut the last 2 years, I know, significantly. And we cannot continue to provide the services that we provide without some compensation or some kind of cut somewhere, some kind of complete overhaul like you guys are experiencing right now in your budget. This is not just a Manchester City Schools issue financially, it's a Manchester City issue. And we can sit up here and be blind about it and say, let's just continue to fund the city schools regardless. But at some point, as you know in your own lives, we have to live within our means. We have to, if we don't have the money for it, we can't continue. So we have to make choices. And if the taxpayers want to keep the city schools more than they want to keep other things, or more if they want a tax increase to keep the city schools, then by all means, let the taxpayers make that decision. It's the only thing I've been saying all along.
The taxpayers do not have enough information to make an informed decision because of a lot of misinformation that has
Let me tell you about some of
No,
that
you're not going to tell me about anything.
No, I'm going to tell you about
No,
some
you're not going to tell me.
misinformation.
Excuse me. Okay.
This is how this works. You are the elected representative. No,
You people already got your decision made over this already, don't you?
Okay.
So basically the excuse left behind, huh?
Okay, just let us continue, please.
I had one more thing to say, Ms. Morris. I'm sorry, but Mr. Holt, you were talking about data. And if you want to really talk about data, we'll talk about data. Because the data that you presented came from a site called schooldigger.com. And you made the statement that most of the county schools, other than one, were at the bottom.
No.
people a chance to talk one at a time. But I let these folks talk because Mr. Holt was the one that spoke, and Ms. Singh had a question about what he said.
I can tell you exactly where each of the 6 elementary schools in the county and the 2 elementary schools in the city fall in that poll. And what I've always represented is that there is actually one county school that ranks up above the 2 Manchester schools. The 2 Manchester schools are 2nd and 3rd in that poll, and they're very, very close to one another in that poll. From there, you stop dropping drastically to where the bottom county school, 1, actually 2, are very far down that list. There's one that approaches, well, there's one that's in the bottom 20%, there's one that's in the bottom 30%, there's one that's in the bottom 33%.
But that's not what you said.
No,
You stated that one was a highly ranked school, and then you named the other ones, and then you said nothing like number 3 ranked Westwood Elementary. And in the poll that I have that Hillsborough was number 223. College Street Elementary was 242, and Westwood Elementary was 287.
Could you read down the rest of that list?
You and I.
Could we read down the rest of that list?
We can. You guys already know what they are.
We're going to put them in public here, though. Let's put them all in there. I've not named any school other than Westwood Elementary.
East Coffee is 652, Nickerson is 582, New Union is 335, and North Coffee is 453. I think there's 600 to 700. But
There's 850 schools total.
Also, Westwood Middle School is ranked higher. It's ranked lower than Coffee County Middle School. But you didn't mention that. All of these schools, county and city, we all have great schools. Some of them may be better than others. But for you to paint the picture that Westwood is ranked number 3, when the state of Tennessee doesn't even rank schools. The honest truth of the matter is this was a schooldigger.com, and the state of Tennessee doesn't rank schools. They take the top 5% based on several different criteria, and they give them a status called a reward school status. And there are no county or city schools in the top 5% last year. But I went back to the year before, and I did find 2 schools, 2 county schools. Hillsborough and Coffee County High School were in the top 5%. Still no city schools. And I'm not saying that means anything necessarily, because it's just data, and you can make it look however you want to make it look. But this issue goes far beyond a few numbers. This issue is deeper than that. It's, do you want to continue? You know what? If you take out Memphis and the surrounding cities around Memphis, Manchester and Tullahoma have the highest tax rates in the state of Tennessee. And one reason for that, a lot of people believe, is because we're trying to fund 3 separate school systems in this small county. And at some point, if you look around, you can look at the map. It's on the state of Tennessee website. If you look on the map, very few counties are trying to fund 3 school systems at the same time. And I'm not gonna say anything about Manchester City Schools, because I send my own child to Manchester City Schools. I'm a product of Manchester City Schools. It's wonderful. But do we need the amount of administration it takes to run 3 separate school systems in this county? I wish that we could all combine, Tullahoma included, but apparently Tullahoma isn't interested. But I don't know if Manchester is interested or not, because we haven't given the people a chance to speak.
Are we standing here?
I'm a city resident.
I've got lots of houses that say,
Excuse me.
I'm a city resident, and you're not listening to us.
Hold up. Hold up. Okay, let's give Ms. Goins a chance. Ms. Goins, if you want to come up here.
I don't think it's come up there. But I'm going to say this. I've done my research, and I have looked at all of the information that's out there. I didn't come prepared to speak tonight because I didn't plan to. But I can tell you this. I've looked at all of the recent consolidations, mergers, transfers. I don't care what vernacular you use. I've looked at Chattanooga, Hamilton County, Knoxville, Knox County, Harriman, Roane County, when Davidson County went Metro, Memphis-Shelby County. First of all, none of those mergers were done as a cost-saving measure. They were done to stop backdoor segregation. You had a bunch of inner-city schools that were disproportionately minority being outperformed by schools due to urban flight. Those schools consolidated as a means by which to address backdoor segregation. Jesse Register was a big proponent of that in Chattanooga for that very reason. They did not transfer in Chattanooga County. They created an entirely new school system with a $5 million grant from the Annenberg Foundation. This is not what you are talking about doing in this situation. At any rate, in all of those situations, every single one of them, inform yourselves, look it up, they immediately raise taxes in the county. Somebody, I'm not for talking, somebody has to pay to educate these students. Any savings that you have in administration, there's no study, there's no data that supports this as cost savings. Any savings you have in administration is offset by increased costs in other areas. By the way, don't know if you're aware, Hamilton County Schools just sued Chattanooga City over liquor money tax that was never paid to them. You're comparing apples and oranges. There's no data, there's no study. I can send it all in gladly. Will, I'll leave it with you, bring it to you. I didn't bring it tonight. That supports school transfer as a cost-saving measure. I don't know how you fix this, but giving us away, transferring us, letting the citizens decide which is a weak way to govern and lead, by the way, that's what Pontius Pilate. That's not the way to go about this. And Alderman saying, I was watching you as people were speaking, we all were. And it was quite apparent that you were displeased. But I'm here to remind you, I had your sign in my front yard. I voted for you. You worked for me. You have developed an antagonistic relationship with the very people who elected you.
If you elected me for any reason other than I would fight for the rights of the city taxpayers, then you voted for me.
I got a great idea. I've got a beautiful idea. If you all want to know what the citizens want, next time you run for a re-election, put it out there that you're for school transfer, put yourself on the referendum. You get re-elected and you know they're for it. That's what for me. I asked the question.
I was not necessarily for any school transfer.
2 months ago, I know.
I was not. But
You're
when
not
I sit down
in
at that table over there,
I don't
and
feel
I look
like
at the city of Manchester's budget, and I look at what's going to happen in a few years.
Listen, we've heard, and I think
like
that
such a city of Manchester.
I feel like our school board has at least tried to appease you. They have tried to work for you, Anna, and make you happy. I really feel like they have. They've tried, or for all of you. Maybe that's the wrong way to phrase this. Maybe there's a misconception out there, but I do think that our school board has tried to work for a budget that next year will balance the school system budget. Is that not true? Is that true? Do we have a budget next year that balances the budget?
Yes.
Yes.
And will that not solve the problem?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. And that balance
Susan, I'm sorry, one more thing. I got challenged there. I really need, in the spirit of the debate.
1 second though, okay?
Okay.
Okay, everybody, let's be,
Civil.
yes.
Yes.
I would be real quick.
Ron wanted to say something first.
I said specifically, the last time these two boards met, I'm speaking as the moderator, that I would be willing to have this joint meeting to discuss issues at hand and work towards a resolution. I'm going to vote for whatever plan, A or B, that we can come up with that is best. I'm not going to stereotype who is best for. I'm not going to pick that. But I'm going to vote for the best plan. It's been 45 minutes, and it's been nothing but exactly what I said I wanted to end. I understand where you're coming from. I was on the phone all day long with people from both sides of this issue. We were 45 minutes and we went backwards. We've got real issues at hand. If we're willing to sit here and discuss those issues and try to work for a resolution, I'm willing to sit here and do that. But we're not getting anywhere. And that's what I said specifically to you last week. That's why I wasn't going to go to Thursday's meeting. I want to work towards fixing the problem. That's what I'm here to do. But we haven't sat down and addressed the first issue. That we're wasting our time. So if you guys want, if you want to put this thing together, if you want to work together, you know, Ms. Goins, me and you agree on just a lot of things. I don't agree that the school board's work with us. I've been here for 6 years. Not one time have I got a budget before the deadline. So
I'm saying, Alderman, do you know what I'm saying? Right now, let's all agree as adults.
Yeah, let's start today.
Who have a vested interest, all of us have a vested interest in this issue.
Absolutely.
So, like I said before, let's quit talking about back then, all of us, and let's get the pencils out and let's start talking numbers right now.
And that's what tonight's supposed to be.
Then let's do it. Let's do it. Let's start talking numbers.
And let's start back with the line item numbers that you very expediently read.
Okay.
Can we not, though, I do not want to discount the work that was done at Westwood Elementary School, the hundreds of hours that were invested in the SCORE program.
Yeah,
but that's a different group. And I understand that because everybody's looking at a different list, but they were recognized from elementary schools in the state as being in the top three.
Yes.
Having said that, let's move back to Ms. Morris opened this meeting with the $1.2 million cuts that we've gone back and revisited and looked at. Frankly, our school system operated overly optimistically when we let the 9th grade go away, that we could increase the population and keep our population close to the same. Well, the reality is that hasn't happened. And our optimism is caught up with it. And so positions that we had hoped to be able to keep and to preserve, we're not going to be able to. And we, several of us, I don't know how many, I know I've sat there with Ms. Morris and looked at a budget.
Every board member
everybody
has sat down.
And you know, like I said, we committed in December before a lot of this information started that we were committed to cut $1.2 million. We've got those numbers down. It's obviously going to take some massaging to make everything work, but the things we've committed to are cutting $1.2 million from our budget. Would that be painful? Incredibly painful. Will everybody work to preserve the services to the children? Absolutely. That we drop the lawsuit against the county, and that's had a positive domino effect. That Dr. Brewer would reduce his salary to $80,000, and that's on the board as well. The other was to move central office, to relocate, and we're in the process of navigating that to get folks back and figure out how we break a 3-year lease with our attorney. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, where we are. We're still looking, you know, I know Travis came and talked to you all about trying to come up with some money to be able to give back to the city. And frankly, well, you know, we've been told by attorneys we can't do it this year. and to cut 1.2 million, I don't think we can do it next year, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, I was at the meeting Monday night, and the only thing that I heard that you guys could cut was 280 from central office, 280,000 from central office, and that the principals had agreed to reducing their term to 11-month contracts. That's a long way from the $1.2 million that you guys were saying that you got cut on.
Well, the sheet that we had Monday night was very vague, because you remember I asked, because it was real vague, but the bottom line was 1.286 something million dollars, and I said, yeah, I'm not comfortable without more details, but those aren't details. We don't need to discuss people's livelihood in public until we all are at some point where we can talk about it a little more intelligently. So that $1.2 million was on a sheet of paper that I held in my hand and looked at that meeting. And at the very top of the list was central office with $280,000. Because we asked that as the cuts began, they start at central office and filter their way down to the classroom. And Ms. Morris and folks working with her have done exactly what we asked.
So they're not, so then the other $1 million is not proposed cuts. They've actually already been identified.
They've been identified by those of us who've worked on that, and it's also been shared with all of our board. Now, of course, there are people involved, as I said already, there's personnel, and we're not ready to share all of that at a public meeting.
Well, I didn't get that from the meeting Monday night. I apologize. I thought that you were saying that they were just proposed and you hadn't made the cuts yet. My feeling was, $280,000 and then 11-month contracts is a far cry from $1.2 million.
Yeah, I understand that, but no, the sheet of paper I held in my hand was $1.2 million. If it hadn't been, you would have heard, there have been several of us have questions. And I'll tell you, Mr. French, I am committed to getting you a budget early. Oh, absolutely. The days of last-minute budgets within anything that I think we're committed to making that better.
I think we have to regret that past, because we know that mistakes have been made, and we know that it hasn't been the best working relationships with the mayor and the board of aldermen. But we're committed to making it work. We just want to save our school system.
That's what I wanted to say. I went through city school system, my kids, my brothers and my sisters, and I'm proud of Manchester City Schools. I want to see Manchester City Schools stay as they are, but we still need to look at things and see which way to go. In fact, I just talked to one of the aldermen tonight, and I got a little upset, and he did too, so you know one of the ladies. But both of us was talking about, it's all about the children. It's not about... I'm only speaking for myself, and I wouldn't even have a vote if it comes to a vote, if it wasn't a tie. But the thing about it is, let's see what we got. And let me and one alderman talk tonight. Forget about the merger or whatever you want to call it. It's no use somebody saying that the city school is the best and the county is the best and this and that. Get together and see what's best. The best thing to do is I see, I don't care if it goes a year, 2 years, forget about it, get together and see where it goes, and then do something about it. But I think that right now, we need to forget about it.
Amen.
I want to thank you for those comments. And I want to say that, you know, it's been a very emotional time for us in the school system because this issue, if it's put to referendum, it's going to put neighbor against neighbor, family member against family member, and friend against friend.
And I like to get up and say, well, we have a city school system. Oklahoma gets up there and say it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. But, I like the city system. But everything's changed. A lot of times. Things change things for the best. Sometimes change for the worse. But it's no use of everybody getting mad at each other and, putting neighbor against neighbor and all that. That's not the way to do it at times. We have to work together. If it takes some of the school board members and some of our board members and some citizens to get together and look at things and say, that's not going to work. Let it be. Let it go. But let's work things out. Let's forget about this thing, and like I said a while ago, if it takes a year, 2 years, work it out, and then come back to it. We'll get back.
All right. Thank you.
Ryan would like to speak, but Ryan, I'd like to ask you something also. You said on your list that the first thing on your list has not been answered, and I just want to know what it is so we can answer it. Let's clear it up.
No, I said the first issue that we had.
Okay, what's your first
Well,
issue that's not being addressed?
We have yet to talk line by line item what's going to happen. Here's the thing. Everyone in this room right now is concerned about possibilities. I'm concerned about realities. The realities are we have to fix this problem. And that's what I'm here to do tonight. And I really think that that's the mindset I came into with. And I shared that very, very clearly with each of you and those of you that were here last Tuesday. Like Mayor Warren said, I can tell you right now there's 7 of us. If you break down possibilities on how this works out, one way or the other, probably 7 different opinions here how things happen. There's not a single layer by layer, because there's several layers, that we're all going to agree on. But the one thing that we can agree on, everybody in this room can agree on, is we want to do what's best for our community. It's finding out what that is. So that's what we got to be concentrating on. If we sit here and have storytelling time every time we have a meeting, we're never going to progress in the direction we need to go. I want to get it fixed, and I want to work on those numbers and get it fixed. That's exactly what I'm saying. I listen, I do. I was talking to someone today about when my youngest son goes to school. I wanted him to go to Westwood because of the diversity. It's exactly what I said on my own mouth. Those are things, those wants and needs as a parent, they affect how I feel professionally on this issue. But the fact of the matter is, you've got to start working on it, and that's what I want to do. I'm not discrediting anything that's happening in Westwood, anything that's happening in Cost Street. I'm not discrediting anything, any effort from anyone or anyone's feelings. I understand that. It's an emotional issue. But we can, if we sit here and talk about emotion, we do it for the next 3 or 4 years. We've got to talk about the reality, and that's what we're at. Listen, that's not a conversation we don't have either. I come into this board, I was elected at 23 years old. My primary focus was to get sidewalks on Oakdale Street for kids that walk to Westwood.
Yeah. Shout out to Joy Ballard. She is the mayor's assistant. She has worked hundreds and hundreds of hours to write grants, to make safe routes to school, and to provide sidewalks for our children.
But to my point, that was a hot button issue for 25 years. For 25 years, people complained there were no sidewalks. It literally took people eliminating the politics. When this new administration took over, there wasn't a single sheet of paper in that office, not one sheet of paper. Every grant that had been applied for, every program that we had participated in the past was gone in the trash. That's the reality. We started from scratch, but like you said, with hard work, Joy sat down, we got it done. We started over, we got it done, literally within 2.5 years. Everyone says, well, man, that sidewalk project took so long. It took 2.5 years in the microcosm of this long period of time that it had been an issue.
I know that, Brian,
And
because
this-
I wrote the grant
This
in
is
2009. So I know how long we waited to build sidewalks.
Ryan, what do you want, what do you want to do?
Tonight, I want a proposal from you guys that we can start digesting in detail. I mean, we've got to have that. And I want to see what the first thing I asked Mr. Lewis when we talked about the previous proposal. What's the first question I asked? What programs are you cutting? I want to know things like that. That's important to me. It's not just another dollar. It's not. It's never been that.
Okay, Commissioner, please.
We committed to balancing our budget for next year, and we're not asking for any more money from the city than we've asked for the last 7 years. I'd like to ask Mr. Miller if he would address the law pertaining to what the Board of Mayor and Alderman's duties are concerning our budget and what our duties are concerning our budget. The Board of Mayor and Alderman does not have line item veto power on our budget. They pass a total budget. And I would just I'd like to ask him if he would speak to that.
Okay. Before, I'd like to add one financial aspect that I'll come back to that second. In my discussions with the financial directors, the school systems also face about a $200,000 revenue shortfall this coming year. That relates to the loss of 75 students in the 9th grade, which was approximately 2 or 3 years ago. And the DEP allows to keep those DEP dollars, but then it phases out over a certain period, so revenues are long.
I have a question. What's the point behind your question, Lisa?
I mean, I'll say this, you're right. We do not give them detail, but if we were given detail, there would be a lease on that building right there. There would be continued inflation of expense in the administrative side of things. That's my concern. My concern has never been what we're spending on kids. We spend more on kids and less on administration. That's exactly my feeling. So, you know, I understand what your responsibility is. I understand what our responsibility is. I also know we have national budget. And if we don't, you lose state budget and everybody loses. All I'm asking is that you don't hold a gun to our head and make us pass it on the deadline. You committed to not doing so, and I'm fine with that. But I'm not going to say here again, if it's a new day, I'm not going to pass a blind budget. I'm not writing a blind check anymore. I want to make sure, because my job is to do what's best for this community at all times. It doesn't matter if you can vote, you cannot vote, if you're 15 years old or 35 years old. I don't feel like that budget is focused on curriculum and focused on the kids. I'm not going to vote for it. I'm done with that. That's what I think. Legally, you're right, you're protected. But if we're going to sit here and it's a new day, and we're going to work together, then we're going to work together. We're not going to say we're going to work together and then do otherwise. So I'm willing to be transparent and open on our end, and I hope that you guys are here. And I really want to get this done. We're not going to get done by arguing about legalities and things like that. We're starting.
I'm not saying that we're I think what we're trying to say is we're not ready to give names and positions, the right names.
And I'm fine with that. I'm not asking for a roster of where we're cutting people. I want to know what programs, what areas, what part of it is administrative. I want to know, is it going to hurt our classroom? If it is, how? What programs? That's what I'm willing to know. Because those can be given to me in generality. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Because
Mr. Rutledge, you may need to help me, but as I said before, there are line items that are affected by cuts. The first one is 71100-116. And What is that? Direct construction involves some cuts in teaching positions. Those have resulted because when we lost the 9th grade, we moved 6 teachers to Westwood Junior High from our elementary schools. We let 2 teachers go. We kept 4 teachers thinking that our enrollment would increase and we would have students that those teachers could teach. Our enrollment hasn't changed that much. And so we are going to have to look at some cuts in teaching personnel at Westwood Junior High.
What is the amount on that line item? Do you have an amount for each line item?
I'm not sure about that with me. I'll have to look and see. But you have it, Mike? I'll be glad to supply that for you.
Do you have a copy, Mr. Roberts?
I do. Okay. This is not very specific.
Before I leave the athletics issue, it seems to me like all we need to accomplish here today is somebody to be in charge of the list, and let's come up with things on that list so that we can make decisions.
We've already did that.
I've never seen it. I'm on board.
That's what we're telling them right now.
Okay.
We'll be glad to supply that.
Yeah.
We want to be careful.
We cannot.
But we have
have
to protect privacy.
I don't want to know how much she makes or he makes. I don't care.
You already have it.
See, yeah, it's probably somewhere in that 7 feet of papers. It's just, that's not the point. The point is, how do we make this solvent, not solvent, where it will work on the, without raising your taxes, my taxes, and everybody else's, and keeping businesses out here, because our taxes have crept back up to the top of the Tennessee list.
Well, if we say that we have worked on cuts that will make a balanced budget, every board member knows exactly in what area those cuts are being made. They even know potentially.
I understand and I believe you, but we don't know.
Well,
It's not time to
can
present
you not take
that
our word?
Well, your word, well, 3 of them. No,
I didn't mean it to be.
I have no reason to doubt
But
your
you know,
word.
if every board member, every school board member knows what those cuts are, and they know the exact amount that we're cutting in each line item and each department, is that not enough?
I haven't heard anybody up here say it wasn't enough.
Okay, well then we don't need to go line item by line item, do we?
No, I don't think you do. This is organization. I mean, what I'm going to say, well, no, this is multi-layered.
It is.
Okay, you guys start this, we'll be a little bit groups like this, talking to you guys about what you're spending on that budget. There's several steps to this. And I
Exactly.
understand-
And we are just in stage 1.
Completely understand. I just want a generalization, because up until today, I was personally brought up to speed on where the discussions were, just previously coming into this room, maybe an hour or 2 before. So that's all I want to do. Let's get those numbers. Let's see if it's feasible. Let's see if it's something that's going to work. And that's all I want, Jim. I don't want people's private information. That's not at all what it is. I don't think you can do that.
The things that we had said that we wanted to bring to y'all, I guess when we kind of started talking about this meeting, were the things that we presented. That we've looked and reviewed the budget that Ms. Morrison and her staff has presented to us that has detail in it to say, here's how to preserve the uniqueness and the quality of Manchester City schools, and at the same time realign our spending and allocation of resources where it needs to be. And we can do that with the $1.2 million cut that we're committed to.
And the key to what you said, I am just as concerned about, although I'm more concerned about reallocations than cuts, because I want to make sure their programs stay funded.
Well, we are too, and Ms. Morris their staff has gone back and even looked at some of the federal programs and been able to say, to look and see how to shift some resources. Redistribute.
That's what I'm asking the city. Those are the efforts I'm going to do.
It's just hard right now until those things are formalized to be able to hand you a sheet and say, this is what it will, the final product will look.
What we want to do, guys, is we've got the cuts ready to go. We wanted to show you that we're serious, so you wouldn't want to put this on a referendum. We're going to follow through with our part of this. It's going to happen. But I personally want the individuals spoke with first before we do any kind of sharing. I don't know if it's legal, illegal, I don't care. I don't think it's right. It's morally not correct for me. And I'll never vote to do it. But I want to talk to the people who we've got to unfortunately let go. Then, after that, we'll bring it back and let you see it. It's not a problem after they know. And we'll be glad to let you see it. But right here on this paper, I see it. It's got the building and the amount of money being cut out of it. There's no details in it, which I think that's fine for you guys to see. There's no names on it. But after that, we're trying to get out of the lease. That's the only thing wavering financially. Tom told me we couldn't do the $200,000 right now. So our proposal is somewhat where it needs to be, but unfortunately there's some things that we can't do at this point in time. And what we wanted to do was to get you guys to the point where you didn't want to put this on the record. And that's what I'm wanting from you. I need to know from you, we're doing our part. We've all you guys have to do, we've done our part. I want to know if this is going to go away. Because then I know what my focus needs to be.
Yeah, and I can't speak for everybody, but coming in tonight, my focus was, okay, I want to see a 5-year projection. I want to know where you guys are going for the next 5 years. I want the same thing out of the city. We talked about it. We got Sure. We talked about these building studies. We have these building studies going every single day for every single department, every single classroom. We have to know what's feasible for our community at all times. That's no point have I ever otherwise. But like I said, coming tonight, I want to see a 5-year feasibility. I want to see a 5-year projection from you guys. I want to get through this next budgetary period and the 16 fiscal year and see where you're at, where you're going, what you can do moving forward in the future. And I want to see the same thing on our side of things. The problem is, through this process, we have widened the divide between the city government and the city schools. And in reality, they're the same. We are all one people. The city of Manchester, I say to these guys all the time, and I'll probably say to them, pick them off from one corner. But the city of Manchester is not one thing. It's 10,000 individual people. And we have to always be doing what's best for all of them. And this divide is not going to get us anywhere. We have to work it out. Exactly. The other realities of that, tax revenue, sales tax revenue is huge. We live in a state where income tax, sales tax drives everything. It pays for every one of these teachers' jobs. If our property tax continues to go up, that has a direct correlation as to the amount of sales tax you can generate. It has a direct correlation to what kind of wealth is infused into your community, to the type of businesses, the types of jobs, and the type of paying jobs that we get. All of that is related. And it will if we don't get control of it now, that's what we have to do. This conversation started because we saw the current path wasn't going to continue to work. And we wanted it changed. And that's where all these conversations come from. The schools is on that list, but that list is very, very long.
The schools weren't even on the top of it.
The schools weren't even on the top of the discussion. cuts on the city side too. And I'm committed to those, same as I am to working this out with you guys. I want to work it out. And it's, at some point, we've got to come to a resolution.
And that's what I want. I guess where we felt like things started to go against us was when we had that first meeting and had Scott in there, and it wasn't if a merger takes place, it was when the merger takes place.
No. We've been talking about this. None of you guys ever showed up when we were looking at the budget and we were identifying the ways. And we saw that it could come up, that it could happen, and we had that meeting in the event that a motion was on the table and it was to pass.
And Linda, that may have been your purpose, and I understand that. But when we were listening that night, it was never if. With Scott Bennett, it was always when. It was like it was a done deal.
He's from out of town.
I do think when we did, and just to clear that, and not making any excuses at all, when the idea was to bring them in, that was to enlighten all our legislation. We had no idea that the county had employed them in case of a merger. We had no idea. And so.
And I accept that.
That's our attorney.
All right, Ms. Morris, I think, Mr. Rogers.
I believe what they're trying to tell us. I believe.
You believe that?
I'm for the kids. I don't care about the rest of them.
We're all about the kids. And we can cut our budget so that it's balanced, and it will not affect kids directly.
It may affect them in the amount of taxes that they have to pay in a few years. It absolutely may. And that's the only thing that I'm trying to say. And I want everybody to be aware of that. That if we continue on the path we're on and they'll try to work together with the county in many different ways. We're looking at taxes that their kids will pay for years down the road.
Hopefully.
Okay. You know, I feel like we've cut our budget. If there's any way we can get out of that lease, if you ask any of these administrators here, they're ready to go back to that old building. If we have to get work out of the closet, we're willing to do that. If that's something that helps to improve our relationship with you. We're in a 3-year lease. We don't know that, you know, that's something legal that will have to be decided. But we're willing to do it.
I think it would be fair to everybody in the room, and I'm not asking for details, but you said your sheet of paper does not give details. It just gives line items with the dollar amount. And when you first
No, I don't have that with me. Now, I can provide that to you. I have some generalities. But even then, it tells about positions. And we're just not ready to talk to these individuals about this.
I'm very concerned about, you know, if you said you was making $100,000 cut in your budget, I guess I wouldn't be as concerned about the kids. But when I was at the school board meeting Monday night, almost every board member said that the kids will not be affected. And I guess I'm just concerned. $1.2 million, that's a huge amount of money. How can you say that the kids are not going to be affected? And I'm just looking for proof of that. And in my mind, I guess I need it sooner than later. And if it needs to be after this meeting, that you sit down with me.
I would be glad to do that.
Because you have dedicated teachers that'll go out of their way to fund grants on their own to fund for these kids. We will fight for our kids.
I'm not, I've told a lot of And if it came next Tuesday night to a vote on this board, my vote would be no. And that is because I'm a factual person and I don't have enough facts in front of me. And I feel like if I voted yes, then I'd be telling the citizens that I feel like it's the best thing for our town.
No, you wouldn't, Cheryl. You would be telling them.
Lana, you don't know. You don't know. We can't consolidate. That's fine. And Lana, you and I can have a conversation later because you said that we need to live within our means that they do. And we voted to take recurring expenses out of our cash reserve just the other night.
Probably less than 20, Mr. Fletcher, because he and I worked on this. But again, we've had too many teachers there because we anticipated in the growth in our students and student learning.
And I think it's important to say that the actual principals, Sandra, Dr. Brewer, it wasn't board members who were making decisions on cuts because I'm not I'm not a teacher, so I'm not going to go there to that. But they decided what to do, and I know they kept that in mind, and I wanted you guys to know that it was done by the leaders of our systems. So I think it's been done with utmost concern.
Well, it seems like from what everything I'm hearing from everybody tonight is, now we got that, we got $1.2 billion, or $1 million. Then we need to figure out what we're going to do with that 1.2 and where we're cutting it. That's to me. That's to me.
Our principals and I have worked together.
Okay, that seems to me to be the only thing we got left here. Is to take that 1.2 million and get with the finance committee and figure out how we make that work.
That $1.2 million is what was coming out of our fund balance. That's not $1.2 million. It's going to go back to the city.
Yeah, that's not surplus.
No, it's not surplus at all. It's helping us to balance our budget so that we don't have to cut into our fund balance.
Ms. Morris is agreeable to meet with you individually to help kind of you see where we're headed. What else can we do to help you understand that we're serious about working with you in helping the city school system be a jewel to help, to market the city?
Well, I think that that's come out loud and clear in every meeting we've been at, and I haven't heard no negative to that from anybody that has a vote. So we all love our school system. Isaac's in the 5th grade. He'll be going to city schools probably next year, depending on his mother. And I don't get to make those decisions. And, we just want to have the best we can have completely, and we can't do any of that. I didn't have a clue what I was doing 2 years ago here. I couldn't believe all the stuff that goes through here. And it's really sad that I didn't know that. I'm just a little boy.
Could someone clear up for, I know for all of us, okay, we just want to know what's going to happen next, because it seems like we've been to a lot of these meetings and there's not a lot of forward progress. So we go in there, trying to do answer our call, serve these children, but it is a distraction. And what's the next step and what's going to happen?
I think Ms. Goins, my thoughts on that would be for you guys to come to our meetings and come to our finance meetings and see for yourself what kind of shape the city budget is in. Cheryl's exactly right. We voted to take money out of our reserves again last Tuesday so that we can give our employees a 1% raise that they haven't had a raise in I don't know how long. And so that we can give our donations that we committed to the library, which also affected in this thing.
Right, but I got you. I want to know, after tonight, what's the next step in resolution of this issue, the school system issue? Does anyone answer that?
Is the Board of Mayor and Alderman going to put this on the agenda to vote or to send it to a referendum or not? I think that's what everyone wants to know.
That's correct. We've heard it was one thing, we've heard it's the lawsuit, we've heard it's the budget. Tonight you have been heard that the city school board has made the efforts to balance the budget. What is my next issue that we as the people here who are paying the taxes, who you represent and we trust you to represent, what is our next issue? Because the way it's going, we had a meeting, it was an insurance premium. We had another meeting, it was a lawsuit. We have another meeting, it's a budget issue. Is this it? Are we at the end of the list of the issues, or is there another issue out here?
The issue of the city budget is out here, and it's going to be.
And if we
Solution to that right now. That's why I thought I wanted everybody to be open-minded to consider the possibility of a referendum, because it's your tax dollars and it's going to be affected.
Can I say two things? The city school budget for the upcoming year expenditures were $14 million. So when our school board is talking about cutting $1.2 million, they're talking about cutting 10% of our expenditures. That's for each person here to decide to think if that's feasible. I want to read something from another report that Mr. Scott Bennett said. If it's coming down to a dollar per dollar issue and money being spent back, everybody in here needs to know that on page 5 of the TASA report, which is the Tennessee Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations, it's talking about economies of scale. And this is what you guys keep saying. If we get the overhead out and we combine the school system, it's going to save everybody money. This report says, we find evidence that school district consolidation substantially lowers operating costs when small districts are combined. It says if they combine 2 300 people districts, it should lower costs by 20%. If they combine 2 900 districts, it should lower it 79%. And it will have little, if any, impact on the cost savings of 2 districts in excess of 1,500 students. It should be noted that these results include the effects of state funding incentives for consolidation. This is a report that Mr. Bennett cited. So when you say it's a budget issue and we've agreed to cut it and you want us to get it any lower and you think it's going to be cheaper if we send it over to the county, his studies don't say that.
Your own attorney said that it would be up to the political willpower.
But you're portraying that it's going to be cheaper for everybody if you send it over to the county. The county already had a $92,000 deficit budget this year.
No, ma'am, that's not right. That is absolutely not right. I've got the numbers on that. The county actually last year.
The school board?
Yes, they have returned over
On their budget.
$200,000 of a surplus to their budget.
Then they must have posted different numbers to their website, and I should have printed those out. Plus, they played a game with the school buses. The school buses are not sitting on the school property. They're moved into the transportation of the government.
Why don't you tell her you're an accountant?
Because I don't want to get into that part of my life.
Wait, no, I want to know. Let's go back to that.
I know the answer is all of those are still issues.
Okay.
Coming in today, the school board told us, or not, I shouldn't say that, some of the members of the school board felt confident they could earn $200,000 to the city in surplus. That changed today, so to be fair, we're dealing with a moving target here too, and that wasn't something that we asked for. That's not what we asked for. That's what we were told. Okay?
There's always going to be something. There's always going to be something.
That list of issues that was the list of issues from the beginning.
Let me rephrase the question.
I'm going to give you the answer. But it's not fair because I answered the same question last week, and it's disingenuous to ask it again and frame it a different way. The $300,000 that was added because of the city insurance going up, I explained explicitly in the last meeting that that was not a factor. We found out about it the day that we had that meeting.
Okay, and I agree with you on that, and then you got me another issue.
But we brought it back up again. We laid those issues out. I agree with you. All of those issues are the problem.
Is there another
issue?
issue?
The question is, I'm not bringing a vote for referendum. I'm not going to call a vote for that. I'm not. There's 6 aldermen here. And
I know, you
we
can't
can all
speak for-
tell you, no, we're not going to bring a vote for referendum. And the Tuesday night, we can bring a vote for referendum. That's the reality of it. Legally, we can't bind ourselves one way or the other. We can't say, we're going to keep it down the road for 2 years. At
But
this
you
point-
can't tell me if you feel that there's another issue that hasn't been
No,
formally
I
discussed.
feel, like I said coming in tonight, I feel that we need to go through this budgetary process for the 16 budget. We need to have a 5-year outlay to see how sustainable each system is, by the way. City government, city school system. Because either one of them are good back right now financially. That's the answer. I hope we can get to that. I hope we can work it out. And I hope both sides can work that out. But the answer can't be raising taxes. It just can't be, guys. I'm telling you. And if that's not a political thing, that's a reality thing. We're literally going to lose this community for good if we continue at the rate that we're going. That's a reality that we have to all deal with. So all of those issues you listed, yes, they're still issues. They still have to be addressed on their own way. I don't think that they're solved by putting the schools on referendum. I don't. So,
Between now and next Tuesday, Steve, between now and Tuesday, you're gonna get them a budget, right? Right, you're gonna, there's gonna.
No, I'm not going to give them an explicit budget. I'll be happy to meet with any of them individually to explain in generalities what we are cutting.
And then that'll give you something to work from, right?
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I just want this conversation to sound straight and narrow. It's always going to be something, that comment was just made. It is because, you know, I didn't project that our insurance was going to go up $300,000 this year.
And that's understood.
And that's not something that I decided. That was a reality handed to me that I have to deal with as elected official.
And I understand
That's $300,000 of a budget that was already trending with a deficit.
And I understand it. And that pulls back on us as citizens.
I mean, so yes, it may always be something. I hope the next thing is not $300,000 at a time. But my focus with the school system is simply that we stay on track, we don't cut, that these cuts are going to be administratively focused. I said that from the beginning. I don't want a classroom. And then we got to find out in 5 years if we can do even more.
But have all the issues, is there anything else that you know of other than the lease?
Well, I mean, the lease is a big deal. You know,
That's what I need to hear now. If the lease, if we get all this done.
We don't talk about the past, we kind of do. We'll talk about the past as long as it's the city. But we'll talk about the past. All these budget shortfalls that this board has seen, we were anticipating. We knew enrollment wasn't up, but when we signed that lease, that's a bad idea. $40,000, that's a teacher's salary. But we signed a $40,000 a year lease. That's a bad idea. So there's, and that's not misappropriation, but there's spending that has to be fixed.
And
that's why I want to have a more detailed look at the budget. That's why the time comes. Because I'm not voting for, this is our budget, these are our line. I want a line on a budget because that's what's going to have to be, that's what's going to take to be responsible.
And I want to wrap up. I want to say thank you. This is a thankless job that everybody up on that podium and this table right here does. Regardless of how I feel and being upset, I do want to say thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment. Of course, you've all heard it. Our board, I'm talking about our school board here, voted that we do not want it to be put on referendum. So it is up to the mayor and alderman. And I want to thank Lonnie Norman for making this stand tonight. Thank you very much.
I just have a question of the Board of Mayor and Alderman. If our town is in such bad shape budget-wise, why are you giving a 1% raise to the city employees? Why are you not cutting your salaries? Because I know you're an elected official, however you do get a stipend of some sort. We're city employees also, however, because you have the right to trade us, so to speak, because I feel like we're a baseball team that's being traded with all of this. You know, we've gone without raises. I think the other city employees can go without raises also, especially when our city's in such bad shape financially.
I'm not hearing a time frame. And what I want to hear, and from all of you, this is no emotion as far as it goes, except for that everybody's in jeopardy. So my question is, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, I know you want to see the budget, and I want you want to see what is proposed. School board, I know that you have some cuts, but my question becomes, I need a time frame that you can get with all of these people and see what's going on so that you can make an informed decision, so that you can see that they're working on their budget. But what is your time frame overall? So that you guys
what happens at midnight tonight? I mean, what do I need to do? What do we need to do?
If y'all want to go and meet with Ms. Morris will meet with y'all individually and show you.
But these cuts are for school year 15-16.
Right.
Now, we're trying to cut back on things like travel and field trips and, you know, things that don't directly affect construction. We're already trying to do that. But the cuts that we're talking about that we want to see are for school year 15-16.
I think typically a budget submitted, do y'all start looking at budgets in May, April?
February, March, we'll start next month.
Okay. So it's,
I want to commit, I want both boards to commit to passing the budget on time without asking for an extension this year. No pressure preaching. But that's what I want. And I think we can accomplish that.
So we try to go through this until April or May?
I don't know what this is. There's no vote.
Let's tell you what this is.
There's no proposed vote. There's never been a proposed vote. It's simply discussion. This is, yes, budgetary discussions until June. We're going to have to continue budgetary discussions until June, and I'm sure you guys are going to have to.
So we're going to wonder if we are going to be in the school system.
That's kind of asking me a question of opinion. At any time, at any point in the history of the city, one alderman, it just takes one alderman to make a motion to put it on referendum. That's all.
and they cannot make, legally, they can't make a promise not to bring that up.
Yeah.
That's because we've had all kinds of discussion back and forth. The attorneys have kind of guided us. They're bound by certain restrictions about what they can and can't do. And I can tell you the budget cycle, typically, we start working on our budget in February. Obviously, this year we started in November, maybe October. Yeah. And so hopefully we'll have all of our work completed maybe by March. I don't want to rush things to be able to get it to the city so they can see things. It may be April, but it takes our budget development. Ms. Rutledge, you can throw something if I'm way off here. But we have to work to massage our budget to get it right where it needs to be and make sure everything lines up. And then, you know, to meet with folks to explain where the budget is. It has to be approved by the city, and we have to present that. We have failed miserably in being timely in presenting our school budget to our school board as well as the city. But we promised and have full intention to do better. So budget cycle wise, we've got another month or two to work on the numbers to make sure we're making good decisions for the children and for this city to protect our school. And then we'll be ready to sit down with the mayor, the board of mayor and aldermen, and lay our budget out. We've been as forthright as we possibly can be, and plan to continue.
And from an integrity standpoint, I really don't think that this up for a referendum without actually seeing the budget. So, I mean, I'm using common sense here, so.
I can only answer the question personally.
Yeah.
I have 564 days left on my term. I don't believe that's enough time for us to come to a conclusion whether or not this is long-term, an issue that needs to go on referendum. In 564 days, I will not bring a motion to put this on referendum. We're all working at a faster pace now. We all have faults here, and we can't pick on one person or another because they're opinions. We've got to move forward, and that it is a new day, but we have to be cognizant of the past when route is new route.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
I've got just a few questions. I agree with go back to what Dita said. Dita, for the record, you shouldn't have argued. But I still don't know how you're going to get from point A to point B. I mean, for example, what does a penny bring in? How much is the city right now on our current tax rate paying the school board?
All I know is the bottom figure, but and that figured up, I don't know. Penny brings in, $18,000.
So it's around 88 cents, I think.
18,000.
Penny does.
So I think it comes up to be around. And in the school board's defense, a couple of things. One, the school board is limited to very few things. I mean, they can only really hire the director of school, pass a budget, pass policy, and do tenure. And they're obligated by law. The city is obligated by law. If I understand law, we've got a rule for law too. It says that once the school board, this Board of Mayor and Alderman gives X amount of money to the school board, they can never go below that dollar figure.
That's right.
So I guess my question is the $1.2 million that has been thrown out there, by law, how is that going to happen?
Well, that is to eliminate a deficit. That's just to balance the budget.
It has nothing to do with maintenance of effort.
That's a department.
So that's over and above the maintenance of effort. Am I hearing right? The electric maintenance of effort is actually.
No, they're just taking that in a fund.
From their total budget.
So isn't that going to come back in a couple of years and buy?
Well, that's why I want 5 years. I mean, that's why we have to have a projection on it.
To me, there's a lot of questions, and I mean, you guys are the leaders of this town and the school system. Y'all need to lay out some guidelines that we're going to be here, because I haven't heard any direction that you're going to go here. And I mean, I come to this meeting totally on either side. I don't have to play. I talked to seen a couple of folks that I talked to today. I really don't know where I stand on this issue, to be honest with you. I'm leaving more confused right now than I was when I got here. So, because I think that what you're saying is, I understand that we need everybody to time their budget, but how are you going to do it? And are we going to meet again here, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and have room full of folks here again and do this all over again?
Well, like we've said, Paul, we're cutting administration, we're cutting some question positions. So, I mean, we've got some very specific cuts outlined, and they're coming down the pipe. We just can't, it's not appropriate at this point to say, here's what's legal.
Yeah, as far as the budget goes, that Ryan made a commitment that he wouldn't, y'all's hands are tied on what the state gives you. I mean, you don't know right now what the state's going to send you, right?
No.
I mean, you don't know that.
And we might not know that in March.
The school board cannot give the city a hard vote until the state and everybody else does their job. So to answer these people's questions, I don't know how you're gonna get from point A to point B without somebody laying out an agenda of how you're gonna do it. And I like the 5-year plan, I wish, listen, 27 years ago, I was over there at, and there was a group called The Rest of Us was pouring against the golf course, some of you other folks around there. And trust me, y'all are a whole lot more passionate than they were. But, so I understand what you're going through up there. Y'all seek some more customers now.
I'll make a comment on this gentleman's, he brings up an interesting point, is that you probably need to talk to your legislators. You know, there's a report that was issued in November by the BEP, and you can find it online. It's called the 2014 BEP Annual Report. It's the Basic Education Program. That is your state funding. They call it BEP 2.0. And the state has been underfunding BEP for years. You need to talk to your legislators about this, and that's the reason, one of the biggest reasons boards of education are in the positions that they are right now. And this is set, you know, at the leagues on conference desk for consideration, and eventually make it to the governor's desk. It's my understanding that the legislature is going to address BEP during the current session, and may scrap BEP 2.0 altogether. And so, where the school board will be next year, no one has any idea. Maybe at BEP 2.3. So, they want to take some of this energy, call your legislator, and emphasize to them that we need the state to fully fund BEP.
I'll say a couple more things. One, I agree with him. 27 years ago, we was having, Lonnie was newly elected mayor, I was on the board, and believe it or not, this same discussion was being tossed around then about consolidation. It's kind of, I almost felt like I was in that movie Groundhog Day. I'm sitting here, we're talking about, arguing about the ballparks, and arguing about the school systems and consolidations, and we're still doing it 27 years later. I'm like, wow. But to get this real quick, and I'll shut up, I promise I said I wasn't going to speak, but I'm one of those unfortunate ones, or whatever you'll call it. I served over where we did. I've actually been on the county commission, and I was on the county school board. And I tell you, the school board is undoubtedly the most rewarding position you can have in elected office. I promise you that, because you are touching the lives of some lot of kids, and I appreciate all your teachers for what you do. Having said that, you know, I told a good friend of mine whose wife is very close to me, so I'm not going to, she's sitting real close to me. I worked with him, and we had this discussion about how this is going to cause problems within the systems. We're going to start throwing stones at one another. We're better than y'all. Y'all better than us. It's happening. You know, Mr. Bennett, we got 2 county school board members over there. Mr. Bennett, I've heard we throw him under the bus right here. I think if the board will correct me on this, y'all asked him to be at that meeting, correct? Mr. Bennett was asked to be there. He was not paid for by the city to be there. And also, the county school board did not pay him to represent them on this. They have no stand in this. They're going to inherit whatever this city does. And the county school board, I can trust you, are going to bend over backwards and do whatever they can to make, if it did happen, the transition to be smooth. Mr. Bennett's a good, Mr. Bennett's a good man. I've known him for a long time. You know, he represents our county school system the same as y'all got a representative up there.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Sure.